Well, hello there everyone. Nintendo randomly decided to shadow drop a big reveal that the Star Fox series was coming out of limbo because Star Fox 64 was getting a shiny new remake. Again. But the comedic fact that over half the games in the series are retellings of the same story of the Lilat Wars, while funny, doesn't detract from how damn good Star Fox 64 is, and I wanted to make some videos on these games for a while, but with the games being in the cultural zeitgeist once again, I was beckoned by my red capitalist blood to push this up further in the timeline. Anyways, yeah, the plan is to upload quite a bit of Star Fox content over the next month or so, or maybe week, I don't know how much I'm going to be shotgunning this, because these games are awesome, and I've been wanting to get back-to-back level ranking, or I've been wanting to get back into level rankings, so I figured, what better time than now? The levels are the heart and soul of Star Fox 64, designed to be fairly quick to the point romps in a game you can easily beat within an hour, but with tons of branching paths and alternate levels, it's a game that prides itself on its replayability. Quick rules for this video. Branching paths in the levels will not get a separate ranking. Each planet is getting a single entry, with the exception of Venom, as Venom 1 and Venom 2 are listed as two separate stages on the level select, especially in the 3DS mode, and play out almost completely differently. Second, while I will be factoring in bosses to an extent, they won't be playing a very large role in this video, as instead they're going to be in their own video soon enough when I rank the bosses from worst to best. Third, I haven't really done a lot of level rankings yet. It's mostly just been tracks in racing games and, well, the levels in Halo 1, which is a first-person shooter. So if it comes up where the level is basically just a boss fight, they're going to go into their own separate tier listed as just boss fight tier. That means that there's not really bad, but they're just there for the boss fight and not much else. With that being said, I've rambled on long enough for a player to already beat Bull Satellite, so let's dive on in, shall we? Number 16, Sector Z. I despise this level with every fiber of my being. It's just awful, and this is the one level that I will skip no matter what if I'm not collecting footage. Sector Z is not a level. It is a beginner's trap designed to screw over players and knock them off the path towards the true ending, right near the finish line. To even get here, you have to be super diligent and take out every searchlight on Zone S, which is pretty challenging, not gonna lie, but once you take it down, you gain access to Sector Z, which can only be reached through the hard path of Zone S, or Warp and Sector X. The problem is, this level is short, but it's one big-ass fail condition to knock you off the path for the true ending. At first, it's just a matter of dealing with some enemies, but after very little time has passed, the boss, if you can even call it that, appears in the form of a missile. Missiles in Star Fox are the bane of my existence. They're a do-or-die instant game over. If only it were so simple. No, in Star Fox 64, missiles don't give you a game over. It just ends the level abruptly and puts you on the route to the bad ending. I cannot tell you how many hard mode runs I've had in because of these damn missiles. You basically have to come in here with either hyper lasers or an arsenal of bombs if you want to have a chance. To be fair, you can stock up on bombs beforehand thanks to the boss fight, but you're not gonna know that going in the first time. And hyper lasers are good, but they're gone if you take wind damage, which is kind of a crapshoot unless you're playing on expert mode. By the way, I'm never playing expert mode again. Anyways, this level sucks and I never want to play it again, and after I get my footage for a future Worst Difficulty Spikes episode, I don't think I ever will outside of the remake. Seriously, there's zero reason to play this level outside of completion. It doesn't give you a ton of score, it's super easy to fail and get kicked off the true ending, and the better option is to just go to Macbeth, which you can do from Zonus, Solar, or Sector X, and crash the train to get an easy path to Area 6. That's a lot easier and it's way more fun. Number 15, Aquas. Now, I'm not saying the Blue Marine is an awful vehicle, I'm just saying we go back to Aquas in future games in the series and this vehicle didn't come back at all for some unknown reason, despite this game still having unique properties when underwater. Anyways, this level stands out because instead of the R-Wing or Landmaster, you're stuck in the Blue Marine. And there's a reason it's never really come back. It's slow, it doesn't have any proper upgrades, there's no charge shot, and the torpedo button also fires your lasers, so the level ends up feeling mindless. You're not being super tactical with this. You're not like using bombs or charge shots at the right time for good score. You're not making quick decisions, you're meandering through the level at a slow pace while spamming the Y button because it'll keep firing out lasers in between torpedo reloads because that's how they programmed it. And the boss fight with Bakun isn't exactly doing it any favors. It's not terrible, but the sad fact is, ambition doesn't always pay off. I appreciate the effort, but it fell flat. Number 14, Fachina. Alright, from here on we're in the territory of levels that are at worst inoffensive, but the next few entries are mostly just boss fights with barely any actual level to them outside of said boss, and while I may have positive feelings towards those bosses, it makes the actual levels feel, well, there's not much to talk about. And that's not always a bad thing, but the fact is, well, there's not much to talk about. Fachina is overall fine, but there's basically nothing to it. You fly around for 30 seconds until Starwolf shows, which will more than likely be the player's first encounter with them, and now it is cool that Starwolf will show up, and it's awesome that if you kill them here, then they stay gone for good, unless you take the true ending route, but at the same time, it is pretty neat how the game guarantees you at least one Starwolf encounter per playthrough. But really, there's nothing to this level outside of that boss fight with Starwolf and the time limit of the bomb. I feel like I should mention, I enjoy every stage from this point onwards, but the next few entries are primarily just boss battles, and basically non-existent in terms of being actual levels. So, well, that doesn't really mean I think they're bad, but if you want my opinions on that, wait for the boss ranking video. Number 13, Venom 2. Much of the same can be said for Venom 2. I have nothing against the game's true final level, but being objective, it's just a branching hallway with a boss fight at the very beginning of the level and a boss fight at the end of the level. Now, to be fair, the last Starwolf battle and True Andross are some of the most fun boss battles in the game, but the level design in between is just a hallway with a branching path or two. But it gets a few extra points and edges out Fachina thanks to the shit-talking from Andross and the pretty awesome escape sequence at the end. Again, I don't hate these levels, but there's not really much level to talk about, so I can't put them above most actual levels in this game. Number 12, Bulls Satellite. Of course, you could say that Bulls Satellite is much the same as the last two levels, and you would be right, but it's got a little bit more thrown in for flavor. First off, we have a proper objective on this map, which isn't just fly around for a minute until the boss arrives. Now, you've got an objective to destroy all of the shield generators around the satellite core, while dealing with the enemies that are nearly invincible. It's simple, but it's pretty fun, I gotta admit. There's always a rush to seeing if you can take out every single shield generator in a single go. But what bumps it up to good tier for me is once the shields go down, the core will emerge, and sure, the boss fight is super easy and an unremarkable joke outside of it giving so many bonus points that the medal is basically guaranteed, but the real treat is any surviving members of Starwolf will show up here for a final battle with you, and I say surviving members because if you shot any of them down in Fachina, they won't appear here, and if you completely demolish them, then the level is pretty barren. But if you didn't go to Fachina for one reason or another, then the entire Starwolf crew shows up, and the fight here is a ton of fun. This is another level that's mostly just a boss fight, but it's got that extra replayable element and the shield generators to help it stand out, and despite being only 12th on the list, I do really enjoy the Bulls Satellite. Number 11, Katina. The last and best of these boss-centered levels that are also pretty much entirely all-range mode, in my personal opinion, Katina is the best of the bunch. Okay, actually calling it a boss level is a bit disingenuous. Sure, Katina is another level that's entirely all-range mode, but it's one massive dogfight with you and the Cornerian army fighting off Andross's swarm. It's grand, it's messy, it's chaotic, Bill sounds like a surfer dude, it's overall pretty damn awesome, even if I've long since given up on getting that alternate win dialogue from Bill. It's probably the most straightforward mission objective in the game, of just kill a bunch of enemies, but you know what? That's fun, damn it. And even when the boss shows up, it's mostly just there as set dressing to add to the just kill everything nature of this level until the last minute when you need to focus on taking out the mothership's core. Plus, it's still not as annoying as the giant saucer boss fight in Star Fox Command, so there's that. Number 10, Titania. After Slippy gets cocky and knocked down onto the desert planet, we have to save his ass. Titania is likely the first level a new player will go to that requires they pilot something other than an R-Wing, so it does stand out as one of the game's 2 Landmaster levels, but of the two, it's definitely the lesser due to how much this level ultimately devolves into throw random hazards on the ground, have fun. The level isn't bad, far from it in fact, but the good tier levels are ones I enjoy and will go out of my way to replay from time to time, but have notable flaws with, and I do think that sums up Titania pretty well because one of the most notable things about this level to me is the boss fight. A lot of the level itself is kind of just stage hazards the level. Number 9, Venom 1. Venom 1 acts as the final level a player is likely to see on their first run through, and it's a worthy final level. It really feels like you're taking the fight to Andross's army as he throws everything in the kitchen sink at you. With a level constantly having branching paths, it's quite replayable as well, and the music's awesome. That being said, this level can be surprisingly a big difficulty roadblock for new players, since it's honestly more scaled towards the medium path in terms of difficulty, but at the same time, I think having the final level be more challenging than the rest of the game is perfectly fine. I just wish the level was longer because ultimately it's not even 3 minutes until you reach the first boss fight against Golem, which, while not awful, isn't exactly an awe-inspiring boss. And it's not exactly getting any extra points from the fight with fake Andross. Sure, the head with hands is iconic, but this battle is pathetically easy, and the entire fight, including his robot form, will go down in less than a minute. But still, it is a satisfying final level for a first playthrough, and a great teaser for new players about what the harder routes have in store. Number 8, Solar. So I actually don't know what the general consensus is on this level, but I quite enjoy it. It's an absolute chaotic level though. Everything's on fire, the enemies are on fire, the ground's on fire, the sky itself is on fire. And you're also on fire because you're constantly losing HP, which necessitates you avoid taking hits when you can, and also trying to fly high and snag the silver rings for health. It's a very chaotic level, but one I quite enjoy. That being said, it can also be a rude awakening for any new player that managed to beat Starwolf, because all of a sudden you go from the easy route to Solar, which, despite being on the medium route, I would consider it to be the second or third hardest level in the entire game. Also, the boss fight kind of baffles me because why the heck would Andross build a bioweapon on the sun? What is it going to do anyways? This video was recorded before the Switch 2 remake came out, so if any of these questions are answered in the remake, then well, oh well. Number 7, the Asteroid Belt. The Asteroid Belt is an excellent second level as a good step up in challenge to feel like you're putting in more work, but still perfectly reasonable for the second mission in the entire game. The music is awesome, the set pieces are cool, and the enemy formations keep you on your toes better than the rest of the game. It's also got a warp that is ridiculously hard to get, or maybe I'm just terrible at this game, but overall, the Asteroid Belt feels like a great escalation and challenge, and I like how you can actually see Fachina near the end of the level to really give you that feeling of progress. It also caps off with the Meteor Crusher, which is an excellent early game boss and far more of a satisfying challenge than Granga, while also being the first multiple phase boss fight in the game, which in the 3DS remake means it gets 2 different arrangements of Boss Battle B, which is the best boss theme in the game. Number 6, Sector X. Sector X is a spooky level that's going all in on the atmosphere, as the level is primarily made up of space debris and that one warp that basically requires hyper lasers, but everything about this level really sells the unsettling feeling of being watched by something, and that something isn't friendly. I wouldn't call it a hard level by any means, but it's one of the more involved levels a player is likely to see, less so because of enemies and more because of the limited flying space necessitating the player be able to navigate more treacherous space debris than most levels prior to this point. It's a fun level with some spooky music, and I like it. And the boss fight with the Spyborg is another pretty fun one, acting as another multi-phase boss fight, plus it's got some sass in its animations that lets it stand out from the crowd, and he smacks the shit out of Slippy. Number 5, Corneria. Corneria may be the 4th planet in the Lylat system, but it's the first planet you go to in the game, and the one you always start on. So it's a good thing that this level has one of the most dramatic route splits, as its entire second half will be different depending on if you saved Falco and flew through some water rings or not. But Even setting that aside, it does a great job showing the devastation racked by the Andross army on Corneria by destroying so much of the city, for as weird of the city layout as it may be. You didn't really see this level of devastation in the game prior to Star Fox 64, so it was pretty distinct as showing off what the Nintendo 64 is capable of, completely ignoring I'm playing the 3DS version. And I have seen the footage. The Switch 2 Remix version of this looks even more devastating, and that's awesome. This level also has two different bosses, allowing it to stand out. Granga is the first one a bunch of people will come across, but he's a super easy tutorial boss that can die in less than 10 seconds. Meanwhile, the attack carrier is still easy, but a fair bit more involved than Granga, while being a cool reference to Star Fox on the Super Nintendo. Number 4, Sector Y. Sector Y is actually one of my most replayed levels as a kid. It felt like I was discovering something special when I came here the first time, and seeing this large space battle really set the scale for how different this route was going to be. Plus, while we don't get to pilot them, I'm always a sucker for mechs in video games, and there's some pretty cool and distinct enemies since they only show up here. This level always feels like the precursor to Area 6 being this big space battle, but it is a fair bit tamer than that insanity that would come later on in the game. And the music does a great job at sounding like all hell was about to break loose and we were on the cusp of something going horribly wrong. I genuinely have to wonder how it must have felt as a kid beating the game in 1997 only to realize how much more game there truly was to play. That must have been an awesome experience, but unfortunately, I wasn't born yet at that point. Number 3, Macbeth. The superior tank level, with you taking the fight to the enemies by taking out their supply base, which keeps a large amount of their invasion force stocked. This is a much more enjoyable Landmaster level in my opinion, because instead of just spamming hazards, it's about different enemy formations and taking out the constant threat that is the Forever Train bit by bit throughout the level. And because the boss of the level talks throughout the entirety of it, he ends up being one of the most memorable villains alongside Andross and Starwolf. While the level is challenging, it also lets the player feel powerful as you tear through the train and all the enemy forces like you're a serious threat to their army now. And to cap it off, if you're on your game, you can actually crash the train into their supply base, taking them all out and crippling the Andross army. But be warned, if you don't crash the train, then you have one of the hardest bosses in the game ahead of you to take down. I remember getting multiple game overs against this boss because, well, I was bad at the switches and I could not beat this fight for a good long while. Number 2, Zoness. Zoness is the reason to play the hard route. It does a great job in the story showing the true devastation of Andross and what he's capable of by turning Zoness into basically a dead planet and what Aquas would have likely turned into if we didn't kill the Bakun. The objective to take out the searchlights provides you with two different options for challenge of either a quieter level that demands extra precision or a loud and aggressive level where you gotta say to hell with the searchlights and get ready to fight everything. Now you may think, oh god, I gotta take out all the searchlights or I'm screwed, but no, getting caught just means you go to Macbeth, and crashing the train puts you back on the hard route without much fuss. Meanwhile, being diligent sends you to Sector Z. Yeah, I was stealthy for this video, but I don't really care for that level at all, as you can tell. That being said, Zoness is a really fun level and has the best music in the entire game, while also being one of the most devastated, but pretty in like a destroyed sort of way. And I have to give it bonus points as one of the game's best bosses with a hilarious villain to give the level some extra character. I do have to wonder though, why do the searchlights seeing us alert everything but multiple enemy fighters and boats engaging with us in battle don't trigger any sort of alarms? I guess the grunts are expendable or Andross cheaped out on the AM radio. Oh, who am I kidding? They're henchmen in a sci-fi game, of course they're expendable. And number 1 is gotta go to Area 6. A surprise to probably no one, Area 6 is the best level in the game. It's non-stop action with you absolutely annihilating the enemy forces while being backed by some of the most intense music in the game and seeing Venom get ever closer as the level progresses. I have an entire episode of Greatest Levels in Gaming dedicated to just how good this particular level is. But essentially, it's a non-stop rush of action to the end as you get to tear into everything, and it's more than a little satisfying, especially with the Great Fox getting in on the fun and firing down on their frigates. and as a bonus, it's capped off with a fight against the Gorgon, the guardian of the game's true ending and the best boss in the game, and honestly, it's probably the toughest one as well. It's one level that I look forward to every playthrough. I enjoy it. I always have a smile on my face when I go through it. It's my favorite level in Star Fox 64. It's the best level in Star Fox 64, and it's honestly one of the greatest levels in any video game, hence the title of that one video. And that's all I've got for this video. I've been wanting to do some level rankings again, and I have some more planned for the future like Kid Icarus Uprising, but with Star Fox being relevant again, I decided to move my Star Fox 64 3D videos up in the production timeline by a few months. I apologize if the video's audio sounds a bit odd. I've just moved into a new place. On the bright side, my internet is considerably faster here. On the not so bright side, I haven't really tested the audio, so I don't know how it'll all sound yet. Anyways, that's all I've got for this video. If you'd like to see more content of varying quality, consider liking, subscribing, and hyping the video, and I will see you all next time. Until then, take care.